Not so okay. Everybody's waiting for Friday.
Thank
Oh,
you.
it's not Friday yet.
Yeah, TGIF.
A little bit under the weather, but pulling through.
Tomorrow's TGIF. Right on. Jeff, what's up, man? Good to see you.
Hey guys, good seeing you all. How's it going?
Going well, brother. Going well. How's everything in your neck of the woods?
Good. I just got back from Dallas today. Went over
Oh,
to
really?
see Pace and them at Aspire. That was pretty cool.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah, man. I wish I could have been there. It was his birthday yesterday, I think, right?
Yeah, so he came in, and then I don't know how Laura pulled this off, but she and the kiddos showed up and surprised him in Dallas. So he's like, "Oh my God, they're here!" So
Oh man,
that
that's
was kind of
awesome.
neat. Yeah.
Heck yeah. That's a beautiful thing. I love it.
hmm
Heck yeah.
So
Good
I got
stuff.
a message from Diana earlier. You guys were interested in talking some DTA stuff. So figure why don't we talk about that this evening?
Heck yeah. Let's do it. Yeah, Jeff is a man of many skills, so he does that. So Graham does a lot of DTA stuff. So this will be actually a lot of fun. On I think like on Wednesday nights we're going to be doing some more DTA stuff. So yeah, I'm interested to hear and learning a lot about myself. It's actually a lot of fun.
Okay, awesome. All right, should we go ahead and kick off, or do you have any other announcements and things you'd like to do?
No, yeah, we can jump right into it. I know for whatever reason we got a late crowd trickling in here tonight, so people will keep coming in as you're rolling. But let's not hold you up. Let's have you go ahead and jump on into it, brother. Thanks for and first and foremost, thanks for hopping on. I
Yeah,
really
for sure.
appreciate your time.
Yeah,
bro.
absolutely. By the way, that was super fun at Closer Octagon, and we were using Shad's system there with all the tools at our disposal. That was pretty cool. You know what? Where is TJ here? TJ's not here. TJ,
He's not here right now. Normally he's here most nights. Him and Cody and a bunch of people. I don't know. It's a weird night. Like normally we have like closer to 30, 40 people. So
that's fine. Like 17's that's fine. Whatever. Like I'm still gonna give everything. But
they'll show up.
TJ,
It's just I don't know why they're late. Like Diana. I don't even see Diana in here.
did TJ tell you the story of what happened with me and Tyler there?
Oh yeah, with the same lead.
Pissed me off. I've never been so angry.
Yeah.
So irritating. Okay, guys. So the way Closer Octagon went down, all of us are logged into the same CRM, the leads that Shad provided us, which are all awesome. And so every competitor has their own list of stuff. Well, my section hadn't been quite set up just yet. So like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm just like, hey, I've got 100 leads I can call through. Awesome. Well, lo and behold, it's actually everyone's leads. So I'm calling everybody. So apparently Tyler gets on the phone with this one lead who's basically selling a teardown is what's going on. Tyler has him at we're talking about 30 grand. Tyler's going to circle back, call him back later. I don't know what the hell's going on. Tyler has this call. I call this dude like 30 minutes later. Okay. Same list. And I go through the same conversation. I have this guy verbally committed at about 26,500. Like we're doing this thing. And out of freaking nowhere, he's like, I got to hit the road. We'll be on the call back at 8. I think really what was going on in hindsight is he was hoping Tyler was going to call him back with a higher number. And I'll be damned, Tyler called him back probably an hour later, got it locked up. And Tyler, of course, won the competition. Yeah. So I'm still bitter about that. It was really funny when TJ called me up and told me the story about it.
Yeah. Well, it was like we were scrambling. So the team was scrambling to get everything put together. I've been talking to DQ. Next time, whenever the next one is, we'll have a lot more advance notice and things will be buttoned up, a lot nicer. So, we had to scramble to get your stuff put together live while I'm there and trying to like get everybody onboarded and rolling. And it was it was fun and we made the most of it. And it was a great learning opportunity. It was great working with you on it. And that was a funny story, but so it was very insightful. It gave a great insight as to what happens probably every day in our industry, right? the people that we're talking to, we're not the only ones talking to them. There's a bunch of other
Yep.
people calling them and negotiating with them, working with them. And like they're never gonna tell us. Like that did that guy even mention that there's other people involved or anything?
Oh, I mean, he 100% mentioned somebody else had called him. He said his issue was like, hey, this other guy, like, I'm not entirely sure if he's coming back. And so I went through my whole process. And, last second, we were talking numbers. He was like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. But he didn't have like a smartphone. So he couldn't just pull it up on his phone, or at least that's what he told me. And then wasn't sitting at a computer. And I'm like, I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is bullshit, but whatever. It was still a good performance, but I cracked up about that later.
Well, what's interesting to me though, there's so many takeaways from that day. One of the really interesting things is, Tyler called and he had him at 30, right? And then you called him after that and you got him down further, and he was still willing to actually have that combo and like potentially get that papered. So it speaks to negotiations, and even though other people are in some of these sellers' ears, it doesn't mean that we can't go in there and make something happen. If we sharpen our skills and just button up our game. So
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, guys, let's talk some direct to agent stuff. So I know that's what y'all are interested in right now. So it's kind of funny. So I was at Aspire this morning, and one of the first guys who comes on, he's the MC, right? And he's trying to get everybody hyped up and all excited and stuff. And the speakers are great. But one of the things that he talked about, and I thought this was so good, and I'm going to talk about this on Daily Dial in the morning, is he said, listen, there are people who see opportunities and they just kind of let them go and they just kind of walk by. And there's other people who see opportunities and they jump on it right away and they say it's for me. So kind of my challenge for you guys and on Daily Dial is if you're in the spot, you're like, I'm in this thing, this is what I want. And the opportunity that's in front of you right now is to refine your skills, which I hope is what you see. And let's play full out for the next hour. So if you're here, if you got your video on, I want to be able to see and get to know you guys. If you have a notebook, now's the time. Let's take notes. Let's get our scripts up in front of us. Let's really fix things. Let's make the improvements so you guys can go get deals. And then if you guys like the content here and you need some more, I'll talk later about other ways I can help you. But let's talk specifically about DTA. Okay. Direct to agent, we're going after on-market listings. Right now, us in the kind of creative finance world, when we're attacking any kind of list, there's usually what we term the motivation list, right? We're doing off-market stuff. I want the vacancies. I want the tax liens. Something is indicating that there is a problem to be solved, right? That's the whole idea. That's the only way we get discounts as investors, is if there is a problem to be solved. Okay, fair enough. So if we look for on-market listings, what are the potential problems that we're looking for? Just studio audience, just think about it. What are the ones that can be solved? You can either take yourself off mute or type in the chat. What are the problems that we can solve on-market listings particularly?
Well, one of my favorite, Jeff, is low equity and over average days on the market.
Right. We got low equity, which the problem being, if they try and sell traditionally, it's not going to work. Either they have to bring money, they get too little to accomplish what they want, or they get nothing. One of these things are happening. And then long days on market. Something has occurred that the buyers aren't particularly thrilled with. We don't know until we call them. Now, there is something to be said when it gets days on market, 300 days. Now I just think it's a crazy person, and that's the problem. I can't solve that. But maybe north of 90 days, maybe there is something else going on. What else is going on? What other motivations could we see? We can also look at houses that just look like train wrecks. It's the handyman special. And you're like, yeah, that property is going to need some work. I can keyword search for that. I'm also tinkering with my own list, which is houses that don't have central air. Because those things will sit, because that's what people want. They hate window units when all the other houses around the area have window units and they're trying to sell it for the same price. Yeah, good luck with that. So Bagu says divorce. I can't tell that from an MLS listing. They're probably not going to tell me that. But low equity is the most common one that we attack. You can even filter them sometimes. There are houses in other, hang on a sec. There are houses in other areas like vacation rentals, and they'll literally say, like, you know, property owners open to seller financing, and you simply call them and figure out, like, what do you want? Like, what do you have in mind? Like, sometimes their terms are ridiculous. You can't work with them. Sometimes their terms are great, and you just got to call and find out. What were you going to say, Graham?
I was just going to say, new ones come up in the last few days that we discovered was fix and flippers. Some of them are getting in trouble now. They've had the market on for a couple of years, and had a couple of days ago we found one. It was hard. They have a hard money loan on it, and they haven't sold it. And they want to sell it yesterday. It was actually a price decrease since they first listed of 300,000, no less. Decrease. And the next day I looked and I found a few more like that. So, you know, at the top of the market, these fix and flippers, they haven't got rid of them. So we can spot those with the pictures, you know.
There you go. Now, how many of us want to sub to a hard money loan? Exactly 0 of us. So remember, if you're going to dive into that one, you probably going to have to bring cash to this thing to get that thing done, and perhaps try and resell it yourself, or you're just going to have to make the numbers work and put in your own mortgage, which is fine. Right? Like if you're doing a burst strategy and you can get it low and it's been fix and flip, like, go for it. But creative and subject to in a hard money loan, like, that's going to be a tough one. And the hard money lender may not go for it. They'll do the due on sale clause immediately. Right? Okay. Now that we've picked our list, let's just go with low equity just because it's an easy one. Regardless of whatever you choose, we're going to treat the agents differently than when we go directly to a seller. And this is where a lot of investors get this wrong. Because when we go directly after sellers, what we've been taught, and rightfully so, is you go straight for the motivation first. Right? Patient walks into my doctor's office. I want to find out the problem that they're facing. What is the issue that's going on? How can I help you? What has gone wrong with this property? What's got you thinking about selling? What's the biggest obstacle you're facing in getting this thing handled? What is it about the tenants that is the biggest pain in the butt? Tell me the issues. Tell me the heartburn. The problem is an agent is not a seller in that they are not the decision maker here. They are a gatekeeper, an influencer. So we got to treat them differently. Think of it this way. If I broke my arm, bone sticking out, it's terrible. And Shad takes me to the hospital and we go see Dr. Norris. And Dr. Norris is like, hey, Jeff, Shad, like, wow, like, how long ago did you break your arm? Okay, Shad, Jeff, like, how long have you guys known each other? How long have you all been friends? When was the last time you all hung out together in Arizona? Does Jeff drive a Porsche or does he drive a Mustang? At some point, Shad will start screaming at Dr. Norris, are you going to help my friend or not? Y'all kind of hear that? Like, you go to a doctor's office, you're like, I don't need you to ask me about my height, weight, and if I'm pregnant, what medication I'm on. Can we please deal with the broken bone, please? Like, my weight has nothing to do with this. And that's the frustration a lot of times that agents feel. And here's what they say. Do you want to buy the damn house or not? What does my client's motivation have anything to do with this conversation? Like, yeah, cool story. Jeff did a backflip off of his motorcycle. Are you going to help him with his arm or not? That's the attitude that they have. So let's think again. How many realtors do we have in this Zoom? Show of hands. Anybody?
I'm a retired licensed realtor.
Okay. Okay, cool. So let's think about this. If you are a realtor and you were putting up a listing, like, what do realtors typically have to do, everybody, to get a listing to go live? What do they have to do?
Put a lockbox on and a sign in the yard, and you list on the MLS.
You gotta go meet with the seller, walk through, take pictures,
Yeah,
contracted, do comps.
there you go. Yeah, we got to run comps. We got to figure out what has to happen. Do we need to clean up the house? We take the photos and then the listing goes live. Okay. That's what happens. And then when the realtor's phone starts ringing, what does that realtor hope is about to happen?
So buyer, somebody
Make an offer.
looking to buy it.
Right. We got buyers. We want to make an offer. That is what realtors want more than anything. So the strategy is we need to give them what they want before we can start going into motivation, seeking out the problems. Okay. So here's what I typically do. When I introduce myself to an agent, remember, this is a business to business thing. It's business, Johnny, not personal. Remember that from The Godfather? Sonny, not Johnny. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. I'm sorry. Okay. Godfather, forgive me. It's business, Sonny, not personal. So when we approach the agent, I am not going to try and hide who I am. This is business. I'm going to get on the phone with the agent. Hey, Mr. Jones, it's Jeff Smith calling. How's the day treating you? It's good, Jeff. What can I do for you? Hey, the reason I'm giving you a call, I'm looking through multiple listings today. I'm looking for my next rental or Airbnb or whatever. Saw this listing and thought, this looks kind of interesting and wanted to ask you a few questions, see if it qualifies. Do you have some time? I've done 3 different things in this introduction. 1, I'm looking through multiple listings. You're not the only game in town. 2, I'm looking for my next rental or Airbnb, which means you don't need to sell me on why my 2.5 kids and dog are a good fit to live here. And 3, I'm an investor. You're probably not getting a full price offer out of me. I've done all 3 of these things in the introduction. What I haven't done is said, this is my title. This is the company I work for. This is how much money I make in a year. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. When Pace Morby calls a realtor in an unknown area, they don't care. Not in the intro anyway. Later on for credibility, that might help him, but in the intro, nobody cares. All right. So now a lot of agents, if you introduce yourself this way, it's like sellers. There's some of them who are really cool and some of them who are just jerks. Some realtors will say, hey, totally understand what you're trying to accomplish. I even see what you mean. Honestly, Jeff, this one's probably has a few. I've already got showings lined up this afternoon. This probably isn't the right one for you. No problem. Congratulations. I genuinely hope that works. While I got you on the phone, though, maybe you have another property, another listing that could qualify we could talk about. Because sometimes the agent is the prize and not necessarily the property. If I get a unicorn agent who can bring me 5 properties, I don't care about this other one I've just called on anymore. Y'all know what I mean? So take that conversation where it goes. Now let's pretend it goes down the other path. The realtor might say, yeah, you know what? I see that this can be a rental or Airbnb. Yeah, it's a nice little neighborhood. The HOA isn't crazy. Yeah, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Okay, cool. So, Mr. Jones, I'm looking through the photos here. Photos look interesting. I'm not actually looking at the photos, by the way, because the photos don't actually tell me anything. Not much anyway. Not worth spending the time on. But I'm going to tell the agent the photos look interesting. Why do I do that? Because the house could be immaculate. The house could be burned to the ground, but the photos are interesting. So I'm covered either way. Let's think about it this way. Every single time I have looked at a Zillow listing or looked at Google Street View before I've called, I ultimately feel no more confident than when I just call them out of the blue. Seriously, like the photos almost do nothing for me. Because what am I going to do? Hey, what does the kitchen look like? Realtors going to be like, look at the photos. It's not actually helpful. Or worse yet, we spend time looking at the photos. Hey, Mr. Jones, we're looking at the oh, we just got it under contract yesterday. I forgot to update it. Wow, I'm glad I spent 20 minutes looking at the photos and comping this thing. That was fun. So I never really look at it. I just go. Okay, so I encourage you guys, if you're stopping yourself looking at photos, don't bother. Okay, the goal of the first call, everyone, is not to close them exactly. It's to find out if you've got an interested lead or not. Is this a qualified lead or not? If the answer is no, cool. I don't need to spend any more time on it. If it is, cool. I'll hang up the phone and I'll work on it. Okay, so hey, I'm looking at the photos. The photos look interesting. If I were to put in an offer, ding, 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 is there anything I need to know that I cannot see in the photos? Is there anything I need to know? If I were to put in an offer, is there anything I need to know that I cannot see in the photos? This does a couple of things. This is a really good question because some realtors will pop up and say, man, this guy Jeff is for real. Hey, here's what's really going on. There's a foundation bust. My seller doesn't want to pay for it. All the buyers don't want to deal with it. The mortgage doesn't want to pay for it. That's basically what's going on. I honestly could use some help here. Fantastic. Sometimes the problem is significant enough. Other times, the realtors will simply say, no, nothing's particularly wrong with it. I mean, it's been recently updated. It's got 3 beds, 2 baths. You know, that's all cool, and blah, 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 blah. And sometimes what they say isn't really that helpful. But I use that whole thing, is there anything I can't see in the photos I need to know? Because if they have had an inspection and there was an issue with the past buyers, that might be helpful to know. The other question I typically ask is I say, okay, cool. So that's useful to know. Hey, you know, again, if I were to put in an offer, I want to make sure that I don't fall in any booby traps. You know, have you had offers from other buyers that didn't work? And can you tell me what they did wrong? Or what stopped them from moving ahead? Again, it's not about me trying to undercut them and even try and get the buyer's price out of them. I don't think I have enough rapport at that point. But again, I'm asking, have you encountered other problems so far? Because I don't want to do the same thing. This is all very reasonable. And again, it doesn't behoove the realtor to hide this from you. Like, if they knew that the buyer had an issue with the roof or something else, they're going to want to tell you that. Otherwise, what are they going to do? Run another inspection report? It's like, I hope that they don't find that the roof is 25 years old. Not going to happen unless the realtor is incompetent, which is more common than you think. So anyway, so get into it. Now, at this point, everybody, I need to start talking numbers with them, because the longer I drag this out on the number side, the worse it gets. It doesn't get better as I ask more questions without talking numbers. It gets progressively worse. This is kind of the opposite of working with sellers. This is where we go wrong, because everybody wants to stay in this motivation. Like, well, why is your seller selling? The agent's like, what the hell difference does that make? Right? Because it doesn't yet. So then I'm talking with the agent. I'll say, okay, cool. So I'm going to have to do some comps on my own and some underwriting and, you know, make sure that this really works out. But Mr. Jones, before we hang up the phone, I think what's going to happen if I bring my own financing, which I'm happy to do, I'll bring my own mortgage, cash, all the things. I think this is going to land somewhere between, and I usually drop a low anchor of 70 to 80% of asking price. 70 to 80% of asking price. Because I'm going to assume for a second that the realtor has somewhat adjusted for repairs that need to be done, whatever, it doesn't matter. So if it's 300,000, I'll usually say, hey, you know, I can bring cash. I think this is going to land anywhere between about 210 to 240 if I'm bringing my own financing. And I just say it solidly, just matter of factually, I think this is what's going to happen. And hear the difference between this. I don't say, you know, it could be 210, 240. You know, maybe it's 210, maybe 240, because now I just sound like I don't know what I'm doing. But instead, I'm going to drop this a little more solidly. Look, I'm going to have to run some numbers here. I am interested. And I can bring my own financing. You know, it's not particularly good right now at the interest rates, and I'm happy to do it. I think what's going to happen, though, is that I can give you a solid offer. I can absolutely do it. It's probably going to be somewhere between about 210 to 240, something like that. And just lay it out there. Because think of it this way. We've always been taught whoever gives out the first number loses. Y'all ever heard that one? But in this particular conversation, who gave out the first number? The realtor did. The realtor and the seller handed out the first number. It's on the listing. So there's no loss to be had here. And I'm going to low anchor them. Okay? Now, if this is a low equity listing, what do you think the realtor is going to say when I drop the 210, 240 on them? If this is a low equity listing and I say, hey, my offer is 210, 240, something like that, and they're asking 300K, what do you think they're going to say, Jim?
They're not going to take that. That's too low because internally he knows he can't get his commission that much.
Right. He's going to say, yeah, Jeff, I understand where you're coming from. Financing sucks. Frankly, Jeff, we've had offers that were higher and my seller turned them down already. So that really isn't going to work for us. Okay. I pushed on a bruise and it hurt. Now I'm going to see if this really is a pain point. So I'll say, okay, hey, Jim, I totally understand where you're coming from. I get it. Okay. Maybe this doesn't work for everybody. But hey, let's not quit on this just yet. Maybe you and I can figure this out. What we've been noticing recently is, particularly when the interest rates went kind of bonkers, there's a lot of people who are struggling to get sold traditionally because the interest rates put a lot of downward pressure. Some people don't even have enough equity to sell their own house. And we've actually been helping a lot of realtors recently solve this problem and buy it in kind of some other ways. Is that the challenge that you're facing with selling this house, or is there another obstacle stopping you from getting this done? Now, what have I done? I have switched gears into what is the problem you are facing? Are you facing a low equity problem, or are you facing something else? What is the problem you're facing? Okay. Now, sometimes realtors will be like, nope, there's no problem. They bought it in cash, whatever, you're done. Okay, fine. Some realtors will say, yeah, Jeff, you nailed it. Like, that is exactly what's going on here. They bought it a year ago. They got a job transfer. If they sell for less than 300,000, they're, I'm already taking a hit on my commission just to help them. But if they take anything lower than that, they're going to have to write a check, and they don't have the money for that. Guys, that response happens all the time. All the time it happens. Now I have found a qualified lead. Sometimes they'll even tell you, hey, they're even getting behind in payments. Like, this is starting to get bad. Okay. So at this stage, now I can start making some progress. Like, okay, Jim, I get it. So let's see if we can figure this out. I've helped a lot of other realtors recently deal with this exact problem. So just quickly, so what you're saying is the reason they can't sell at this number and they couldn't sell at the other numbers was because this resulted in no cash. So what is the balance of that mortgage that they've got to nail? Right now, I can start getting into the weeds with them because I have established that I'm trying to make the deal happen. I understand the problem, and now I can start asking these questions. Rapport is built not because I know the realtor's dog and that he likes to fish. Rapport is built because there is a trust that's been built. Jeff is actually doing something. He's actually worked on deals before. This guy actually knows what's going on, and we can work together on it. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? So at that stage, now you can go down the path of like, hey, here's what we did with other people. There was another seller I worked with, exact same situation you're talking about. We did something a little creative, not illegal, it's just creative. But basically, Mr. Agent, if I was able to show you a way that we could get your commission paid, I don't know if we can, but maybe even put a little money in the seller's pocket. Do you think you'd be open to something maybe outside the box that we've helped other people with? Again, just baby steps. I'm not even telling him what's subject to it. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just like, is your mind open to something else? Sometimes agents say, yeah, dude, we'll do anything at this point. What do you got? Well, here's what we did with the other person. Here's what we did. I called this realtor, same situation. And basically, we worked out a deal where we paid the agent's commission. They actually took 2% that time just to make it work. We managed to put a couple $1,000s into the seller's pocket. And here's what we did. We started making payments on the mortgage going forward. We just picked up right where they left off. And we absorbed the closing costs. So if that was something we were talking about with your client and the pain of this mortgage payment would stop, is that something we could talk about? And I could show you the finer details. Again, just baby steps. I use third-party stories constantly. Why are third-party stories so powerful? Because I'm not the main character. I'm not the main character of a third-party story. I was just recording it. It's the other people who said, I have this problem. I want you, Jeff, to solve it. And I agree to do what you're talking about Because if I simply say, yeah, I buy properties all the time, I do all this, like, I don't know you at all. But if it's all of a sudden somebody else trusting me to do it, that's far more powerful. Think of it this way. If Shad came on the Zoom every week and said, hey, everybody, everyone is telling me, like, I am such a badass. Everyone's telling me this. It's amazing. I'm such a badass. It's great. Which he should tell you that, by the way. But if instead, what if he came over and said, hey, I was just at this conference and dude, it was the weirdest thing. Like 2-3 other people just randomly walk up to me and they're just like, Shah, we've been using your product. You're such a badass. And it's just like made my day. Which one feels more real to you? Shad saying, I am a badass, or he's saying 3 other people came up and said it to him? The second story will, because you're like, it's more credible. So same principle applies. Okay. Yeah, Shad, true story. Absolutely happened. I was the one who said it. Okay. So guys, everybody remember, like most realtors, like I have not gone to realtor school, but everything I am taught, everything I have heard about realtor school is they basically put a piece of paper in front of them and they put on there MLS used to sell house, post photo, make money, test score here, use license, use broker, fun. And it's about that in depth. So when you approach a realtor and they don't understand this, they've never, I assume these realtors have never heard of what I'm talking about.
No, they don't. So Jeff, when I went to realtor school here in Arizona a couple years ago, my instructor, he was a great instructor, really amazing at what he does. He had a passion for teaching, and he literally told the whole room, and he would tell all of his classes, my job is not to teach you real estate. That is not what I get paid to do. My job is to help you pass the exam. Your broker, and it is up to you to learn how to do real estate. You are not here to learn real estate. If you thought you signed up for real estate school, this is not real estate school. This is to pass the exam. That's it.
Yeah. And guys, a lot of the brokers, they're too lazy to learn and hear other stuff. So what is their default move? Lawyers have this default move too. If I haven't heard of it, it must be illegal. By default. I mean, you know, wait until they find out how lease options work. Wait till they find out that this happens in commercial real estate all the time. Their heads are going to explode. Right? But that happens frequently. So I don't want to blow up the realtor's brain with the whole concept of subject to when there's a good chance they're not ready for it. Now, here's another thing that happens, guys. Yeah, Diana's there. Yeah, it's incredibly common in commercial. It's almost like every single deal has some component of seller finance, creative finance in it, like every freaking one of them. So now here's the thing. A lot of times what'll happen is we'll get on the phone with a realtor and maybe they're even interested in this. Maybe even say, man, that is the coolest idea I've ever heard. That's really good. And then they start peppering you with questions. Y'all ever had this experience? You're on the phone with a realtor and just like, man, one after another, and maybe even just sellers, like they just start firing off questions about sub 2, one after another. What about the due on sales clause? What if you guys default? What about the DTI? What if a meteor strike hits the house? Right? All the things. All you guys are reacting like I'm speaking Japanese. Has nobody spoken with anybody? Okay, Bagu has, Miguel has, Jose has, Graham has. Okay, cool. So you 4, I'm going to talk with you all. So in a lot of I'm just messing with you. So a lot of times, guys, what'll happen, they'll start asking all these questions. And the problem is we haven't determined yet, is this person really considering this, or are they just getting a free education? And I can't tell you how many times I've done this and I've answered all the questions and I come to the end and they go, oh, no, I wasn't really interested. I was just kind of curious how this all works. You go, well, great. I'm glad I just spent 15 minutes wasting my time on this. It's painful. Or here's what's worse, is that it's not even just a list of questions, it's a list of objections. And you can defeat all of them and you'll get to the end and they'll give you one objection and you can't beat it. Here's what it is. Well, I just don't feel good about it. I just don't feel good about it. I just answered 15 of your questions flawlessly, and you're not comfortable with this. It wasn't about that they were uncomfortable. It's that they were trying to get out of it. They were trying to find the hole in the armor so they could justify their own feeling. Y'all see that? So when you feel like you're starting to get peppered with questions, the right angle is not to start answering them right away. Don't avoid answering them. It's just not the first thing. Here's what I do. I say, hey, these are good questions you're asking. Matter of fact, you're right to ask me. Every seller, every agent I've ever worked with asked me these questions as you are. And I am happy to answer all of them. Before that, though, I just want to clarify. If I could show you how this works and how you and your client are protected, would you all seriously be considering this option if I showed you how it worked? Do we fundamentally agree that this solution does help your client? And some realtors will say, no, absolutely. Like, I see where you're going with this. I just need to make sure that I present this correctly. Fair enough. I got all the time in the world for you, because now this is just clarifying questions. But some realtors are like, oh, no, I think this is all bullshit. I'm just kind of curious what you think about it, because my broker said it's illegal. I'm just kind of curious. Well, I don't have time to talk with this person anymore. Or I need to rewind and say, okay, you don't feel like there's a good solution. You're curious. Okay, fair enough. Well, what is it about what I'm talking about so far that you are uncomfortable with? What is it that you feel like is not going to work here? They might say, well, I don't know a title company that deals. I've never met a realtor who does. I've just never heard of this before. And again, now it's a different type of objection I need to deal with. Because if they don't fundamentally believe this could help them, or they believe it's illegal, it doesn't matter what you say about the DTI. That's not the issue at hand. It's something else. Okay? You'll get it? And it's okay also for the realtor to say, hey, we're just not open to creative deals right now. We're just hoping for a cash deal, and say, cool. I genuinely hope it works out for you. I genuinely do. I'm not rooting against you. Do you mind if I call you back in a month just in case you're not getting the response you want? Because I'd like to be an option. And realtors, a lot of times, they're like, yeah, that's cool. That's fine. And follow up with them sometime, and then I text them, hey, this is Jeff Smith. We just talked creative. Subject 2, I'm rooting for you. But if something happens and they want to try something different to get this handled, please call or text me anytime. And sometimes they call you back sooner than you think. I was talking with Rob Abasolo not long ago. He's saying the same thing. Like, he gets calls from realtors. Rejected it a few weeks ago. Call him up. It's like, hey, seller asked for you to write your offer, please. They've decided they don't want to wait on the market anymore. That's pretty common. Like, I would do that. Like, probably a lot of you would. I want to sell my house. I'm going to just test the market and see if somebody will pay me a crap load of money for it now. Because why not? But after 1 month, I'm like, you know what? This isn't fun. Now I'll do something outside the box. That's not unrealistic.
Well, there's still a lot of people that think it's 2021, in early 2022.
Yeah.
So they're starting to realize. Jeff, are you starting to see that the market's cooling out? Like, are realtors starting to warm up more to creative and to the options that you're presenting, or even the cash offers, more than, say, 6 months ago?
So the noise, there's been so much noise about creative and subject to that I'm encountering more people who have at least heard the pitch before.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily translate to the sellers being open to this at all.
So you're not seeing motivation rise just yet?
I do
With
not
the
see
sellers.
I don't see a direct correlation between the realtor's understanding of subject to and creative that translates to the seller's motivation increasing. Because, like you said, Shad, every single seller I'm encountering is still living in 2021 in
Yeah.
Houston, particularly. The magical California buyer, the leprechaun, is out
Yeah.
there somewhere, and they're just
Right.
waiting to pounce on my house.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, so because a lot of the people that are in here are calling direct to seller,
Mhm.
and we're starting to see, because we're going to see it there a little bit sooner than on market people, right? especially the people that are already listed. And we're starting to see a little bit more of an uptick in motivation from sellers, just because there some people that are a little bit more in a position that need to sell as opposed to want to sell. I think a lot of the want to sells are starting to just go by the wayside there, and just they're realizing like it's not a great time to sell. Today, I heard that the Fed, for the first time, signaled in their meetings, the next meeting they have next month, they might actually raise rates, because they went from 6 cuts to 4 cuts to 3 cuts to now, yeah, we might raise rates because the inflation numbers came in hot and it's not going in the direction they want. So
Yeah.
if that happens, I mean, oh boy, we're going to have a full-on buyer's market by the end of the year, I think,
Hooray.
if that happens. But we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
I didn't mean to cut you off there. I was just
No.
interested to know, like, based on what you're seeing out there.
Yeah.
Based
No,
on-
I wouldn't say that I'm feeling any kind of radical shift. With our marketing that we do, which is primarily inbound, usually the contracts that I'm executing, if that person becomes a contract, they're usually doing something with me within 72 hours, or they're
Mhm.
not at all.
Yeah.
I get plenty of people who are like, oh yeah, I saw your website says you buy properties, no agent commission, no closing costs. I figured if I can sell it for 10% over market without realtor commissions, why not? I'm like, okay, like, just on a scale of 1 to stupid, where are you? Because my
Mhm.
site clearly says I'm looking for distressed houses.
Yeah. No, they're still in 21. They think they're going to get multiple offers in the first 48 hours.
It also depends on some of the areas that you're in. So there's one section of Houston in particular where there's a lot of land, and the agents, I don't know what the hell is wrong with them. Like, they're using comps from 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and they're going, well, we're listing it at this price because that's what everybody else is listing it for. I went, no shit. And how many of them are selling? And they're
Right.
like, well, 0, but that's what everybody else is listing it for. It's like, well, that should tell you something. But I hate realtors.
Jeff,
But
can
you
you
work with
speak?
them.
Yeah, I've got a question for you. Sometimes you get an agent on the phone and you are the 50th one that's called about this, and they come in hot. They don't even say hello. They say, if you're going to tell me about creative financing or sub 2, you can get off the phone now. Right out the gate. How do you deal with those?
Right. So there are some realtors, guys, no matter who you are, they won't talk to anyone. I want my candy and I want it now. Right. Okay. You can't deal with it. Pace cannot close that one. No one can. All right. What I will typically do, though, is what you're encountering, Graham, is a red personality. They're probably just very irritated. I assume in the onset of the moment that it's not about me and it's not about subject to. I just go with the assumption that all the other wholesalers who have been calling this person are incompetent. And
Yep.
that's truly what the agent is upset about.
Mhm.
So when I enter this call and they're like, dude, if you're talking to me about sub 2 and creative finance, you like, don't even bother. I will usually laugh. I'll go, dude, I know, like, so many of these other yahoos, like, they have no idea how this stuff works. Like, I'd be pissed. Like, you wouldn't believe the conversations I have with brokers and agents and title companies, what these yahoos are telling you. Like, what was, like, what obviously you've been pitched this. Like, what was the thing that really left a bad taste in your mouth? You see how I've kind of turned this around? I'm like, you're right. You're right to be irritated. These guys are knuckleheads. They have no idea what they're doing. Good for you for not signing up for it. What was the thing that left a bad taste in your mouth? And then I flip the script, and they may say one of two things. They may say, look, we're just not on board with it. I know the thing. I know how it works. I know all the things. My seller just says no, and I'm tired of trying to persuade these investors that I'm telling the truth. Fair enough. That's not somebody I can work with. Other agents will say, these guys are talking about they're going to pay the mortgage and something and some other bullshit of no title. Like, I heard enough from these guys. Like, these guys have no idea what's going on. And then you might come to the root of the problem and be like, Yeah, I mean, if subject to was explained to me that way, I wouldn't have done it either. Good for you for not signing up with those knuckleheads. Like, did they tell you about note servicing and how your client is protected? They probably skipped over that, didn't they? I mean, again, good for you. Like, do not work with these morons who don't know how to do it. And if I kind of take this attitude of I'm like you and I am righteously frustrated with you, you have a much better chance of the realtor explaining, here's what I'm dealing, here's why I'm not pleased with this. Doesn't mean all of them will accept it, but you have a much better chance of finding out what the actual objection is. Like Andrew Arriaga, good friend of mine in Houston, like he's done this and he tells the story of one agent who set up exactly the way you described, Graham. And he basically gets in and she said, yeah, these other investors are just like, yeah, just trust me. I'll log into your mortgage site and I'll just make payments. I'm like, dude, I can't trust you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what's the answer to that objection? That's just a misunderstanding, isn't it? Like maybe that's what we do, but the note servicing company does that. And then they report to the seller that it's getting done. Right? So what did Andrew do? He said, yeah, no, I agree. Like, I wouldn't trust those guys at all. That's why we use a note servicing company who sends you reports showing you that it's getting done. Like, if we were showing you that this was done, you didn't have to take my word for it. Like, does that help with some of the clarity? And the agent's just like, what the hell is a note servicing company? And then he was able to get into it. Doesn't work every time, but that's the way I handle it. Cool.
With another question for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Obviously, like Graham said, a lot of the novelty of pitching, seller finance subject to some of these longer days on markets, it's not there. They've heard it at least once or twice. But the other thing that when I do direct agent a couple of times is that the agents feel like legally they can't provide like the seller's equity or how much they owe. They say, hey, that's confidential. I can't release that without the seller's permission. Is there a way to get around that?
I mean, there's a difference between somebody saying it's illegal versus it's confidential. To which if they say that's confidential, I'm like, look, fair enough. That basically means I haven't established enough rapport and I haven't established that the problem and the solution are significant enough. If a realtor says it's illegal, that's the lawyer who says, I haven't heard of it, it must be illegal. Right? So there's a difference there. They say it's illegal, like, no, it's not. Like, you're just being dumb. Now, if they say it's confidential, they're like, look, totally understand. You don't have to release it without your seller's permission. I'm not asking you to. But again, let's rewind. If this was the structure we were doing, where I was making payments on the mortgage and I could demonstrate how you're protected, do you think if I could show you that you and your client could take this option seriously and I could walk you through it? Right. Again, I just rewind to that. And if the agent says, yeah, I get it, I just can't give you the mortgage. That's when I say, okay, let's do this. In order for me to make an offer that you can rely on and I can execute, I have to see what the payments are that I'm doing. Would you be willing to speak with your seller about this? Because I have to have the payments. Otherwise, I can't take over the mortgage. It doesn't make any sense. Or I'm happy to get on a conference call with you. Just introduce this. What would work best for you?
Yeah.
What
and then
about?
usually, yeah, God.
Go ahead, Ali. It's your question.
No, I was just gonna say usually they say I'll reach out to the seller and see, but in the past they haven't been open to it because other people. So I'll try to present it to them again and see if they're open to it, and then they'll come back and be like, nope, seller's not open to it. Since other people already came in before.
So okay, So when other people came in before and you spoke with your seller, what was kind of the bitter taste left in their mouth? What was it they were dissatisfied with in this scenario?
Yeah, and then you go into that, it's usually a couple of things. They want to either purchase another house, they're concerned about debt to income, or they just don't want somebody taking over their mortgage payments because they don't trust that person to make those payments.
Cool. So then I just take them one at a time. Hey, if we're talking debt to income, I can talk to you about that. If you're saying you don't trust us, well, me and my partners, we got over 100 doors that people are relying on us to make payments, and we haven't lost one. Mr. Agent, does this boil down to a matter of trust, or is it just a thing where, no matter what I say, they won't be interested? Right. So you do have to corner them on what the actual obstacle is.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's this magic bullet. Like, there is no magic bullet, but here's what you have to do at some point. Say, look, I understand that the preference is for somebody else to bring in their own mortgage and clear them out, and so they can go. I get that. 100%. Okay. At this stage, though, has your seller been getting offers that they can accept and get them out of here? If the agent's like, no, like, okay. So if they're not getting the offers they want and they're not willing to take this alternative that gets them out of this, I mean, how many more months can they endure doing this monthly payment before it becomes a problem? What if this lasts another 3 months and they don't get any other offers? Like, then what are they going to do? But I can't enter that conversation. I can't enter those types of questions until we're at that kind of stopping point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So, quick note on the previous topic there about the realtor flipping out about I can't give you that, it's illegal or it's confidential. Jeff, do you use anything or something that comes to mind? I guess if you don't, is as an investor, how am I gonna? Because we get this on cash offers all the time. Like, you give me your number, you tell me what you want. You put the number out there. So it doesn't matter what I want. I want to buy it for $1. It doesn't matter what I want. It matters what you want. Give me a target to hit. Let me see how close I can get to it. With this creative, with the realtor being in the middle, like, I'm an investor and I need to know what I'm investing in. Right. Yeah. We get calls sometimes. We call tired landlords and they're like, we ask them, what's the rent roll? How much are you getting per month? They're like, oh, I'm not going to tell you that. So let me get this right. You want me to pay you X number of dollars a month for this property, but I don't know what the income is of this income producing property. Did I get that right? Like, it's the dumbest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
It's hilarious.
So when you're talking to a realtor, I don't know if you've experienced this or if you use this or what your opinion of this is, but if the realtor's like, I can't share that with you. Look, I mean, it's for me, this would be an investment property, which means I'm going to look at this as a cash flowing investment for myself. I need to know what the cash flow potential could be on it. And if I don't have those numbers, then I can't make a serious offer.
Right. What I tend to find is if realtors are reluctant to play ball with figuring out the structure, what it usually boils down to is that they are either not convinced that the problem is significant enough and that my solution actually handles it. Right. So
Right.
if they're saying, hey, I can't give it to you, just give me an offer. I'm like,
Right.
okay. Hey, I think, Mr. Realtor, I guess the question here is, if I took over payments, again, does this solve the issue that you're facing? Would your seller even entertain this? And then, like you said, it's like, look, And if the again, agents a lot of times are lazy about this, they'll just say, well, just send me an offer and I'll present it. That's them just trying to get you off the phone.
Write an offer. Yeah.
Right. Just write an offer. I don't give a shit. Just write an offer. Like, no, you don't want me to write an offer. You just want me to hang up. It's like, hey, look, I can absolutely help here. I can absolutely execute this thing. But the way it works is if I'm going to make the payments going forward and stop your seller from making payments and just lighting money on fire every month, I need to know what I'm paying every month in order to make this deal work. Otherwise, I can't perform. And the offer I'm giving you, it's not going to make any sense because I don't even know. I want to give you a reliable offer, not just a piece of paper. Does that make sense? I always go back to the issue of here. Remember this phrase, guys. I say this in Daily Dial all the time. Just because you have a low offer doesn't make it a bad offer. What is a bad offer, everyone? A bad offer is an offer you cannot execute. That is a bad offer. So to answer Shad's question, guys, what you all are encountering, say, look, Mr. Realtor, I want to give you a reliable offer. One that you don't have to worry about if I'm going to execute in 30 days or just pull the rug out from under you. But I can't do that if I don't know what the payments are at minimum. How do I do this?
I love it. Yeah.
That's how I close sellers too, guys. I did this just the other day. I was on the phone. This couple, it's a VA loan, and they were concerned. I was like, look, we've done this with a bunch of people. I haven't failed them. I will not fail you either. And the reason I'm saying that is I need to know what the payment is, because if I don't know what the payment is, I can't execute it and I will not let you down. And they were like, it's this. Like, just bam, done. You are bringing reliability and confidence where the market has failed.
Awesome. And one more thing I've been running into, and I'm not sure if there's a solution that I'm overlooking, but you run into a
No,
situation.
you cannot slap them or punch them through the phone. I have tried.
It was one agent I really wanted to. She
I
didn't
know.
put oh God, I wish I recorded it. She was a real piece of crap, and I was like, this lady really needs help. I'm trying to help the seller. Can we work something out? You called my client behind my back? No, she filled out a web form because you weren't doing your job. Oh my, I don't want to. Oh my God, I can't. I was like, yo, all right, let me take a break. Let me take a walk. I'll come back. So the situation I'm running into is the agent will be like, it sounds great. The seller would be open to this because somebody pitched it before. But their debt to income. I'm like, hey, no problem. Typically what happens is, once we show proof of payment, their debt to income will come down. They'll be able to purchase a home, usually within like 3 to 6 months. But the agent's like, no, it's contingent on, they want to sell this. And then once they sell this, take the money, buy that next house. Is that something to work around besides doing like a lease back, or no?
It again boils to, I think there are some lease back little creative things. I haven't quite figured it out yet because most mortgage companies don't want to do this. I am working on something where you can do something creative like that. I don't have a good answer. What I kind of do right now is I kind of go back to this idea of like, look, like I want my candy and I want it now. Like, you can't have everything. So what I sometimes say is like, look, I understand that this is what they're hoping to get, but right now with the market and the circumstances the way they are, what most people do we work with is if they're transferring somewhere, they don't want to buy another house again, because what if they're ending up in the same position as they started? So what a lot of the people we work with, Mr. Agent, they'll rent a real nice apartment for a year, and then they'll figure out the house they want to live in, because by the time they get there, they might not know the neighborhoods, they don't know where to go or anything, and they'll figure that out. What if your client just had to make this temporary sacrifice to get this done and not be handcuffed again? Sometimes they won't take that, but that's the way I usually do it.
Okay. I was just making sure there wasn't something I was missing because I was like, man, doing that 3-month lease back or whatever the case may be, and then trying to help them find a lender. It's like, but
It's a
that makes
lot.
sense.
I just put more doubt in their head. Like, what if you even could do it? You bought another house, and then a year later you got to transfer again. You're in the same spot when you started. Like, this just gets worse. So, all right, cool. Who else has questions?
A quick one, because this is very common with agents. They deflect. They blame the client. They say they have to get back to the client and check with them on that. They're effectively deflecting, and we kind of both know it, right? So how do you tackle that? Do you try to educate them or call them
Well,
back
what are they
later?
deflecting particularly?
Any questions you have? I had one. It was either earlier today or yesterday. I mean, every question was a deflection. It's crazy.
Well, then I just call them out and I'd say, hey, listen, I feel like, Mr. Agent, like, I kind of feel like I'm the only one trying to make this work. Like, I can't make an offer and do this without some information. I mean, just lay it on me. Would you rather me just move on to another opportunity?
Mm. I was flabbergasted, but I'm glad that in a sense I don't have a license now. I can go directly to the seller. I guess that's what you do sometimes, is it, Jeff?
So my policy, as far as going around agents, I don't go around agents just because they're stupid or because they disagree with me. I'll only go around an agent if I feel like they're truly violating their fiduciary duty. And I've only had this happen twice. And the reason was because I was on the phone with the agent and the agent said, I don't give a shit. I got to take care of my commission. Like like I got to get paid before, like, I'm not submitting this offer. I got to get paid. I'm like, that is you not doing your job. And actually, as a matter of fact, the agent dropped the listing the next day. I think the broker heard him on a phone, like, you need to drop that thing before you get your ass sued, because I would have,
Yeah.
or at least I would have told the seller. So that agent kind of
Hopefully
dropped
the,
it
the
himself.
broker dropped the agent.
I hope the broker did too. I have no idea. There's one other agent that I just despise, and I haven't seen him yet, but as soon as I do, he will have a piece of my mind. Those are the only agents that, like, there's guys, like, there are agents who are not going to cooperate with you. Guess what? There are sellers who are not going to cooperate with you. There's only 2 agents on this planet that I truly despise. Okay, because of what I just explained to you. Like, they're violating their fiduciary duty. I truly have, like, intense righteous rage against them. But everybody else, like, just because an agent is either having a bad day or they're just like, we're not selling it less than that, and any offer you have, like, okay, like, you deal with sellers all the time who are like, they're just people.
Yep.
But then,
How do
there's
you
lots
do?
of agents out there. There's tons of agents out there who are like, thank goodness. Like, I just need somebody to help me with this. I'm trying my best to help my clients. Somebody has a solution. Fantastic. Like, they're out there and they're waiting for you to give them a call because nobody else can explain it correctly. Or they've had all the other knuckleheads. They're just like, man, like, I wish this was good, but man, it sounds so shady. But if you can arrive on the scene and do something different, like, you can help a lot of people. Jose, you had something?
Yeah. How can an investor approach an agent when the agent wants to make the deal, but it's the seller who, has a tight price? The agent knows that, like, the agent wants to help, and how to approach that?
The best thing you can do is, if the agent wants to get the deal done and says, you're right, my seller is nuts, the best thing you can do for that agent is give them written offers. that actually is the best thing you can do, because the agent has the fiduciary duty to present any bona fide offers. But if you're just giving them verbals, there's not a lot the agent can work with. But if you're like, here's the document, the agent's like, hey, Mr. Seller, listen, this is the offer I'm getting, and I think it's good. And then every week, Jose, again, this is an agent who says yes, and the seller's nuts. Just every week, strike out the date, put in the next date, send it. The next week, strike out the date, put in the next one. Like, let the seller see the stacking of dates that are going by with no one else in sight.
Okay, I see your point, man. I love it, and I believe you're 100% right. I mean, because there is a listing I got for a realtor like 6 months ago. Okay, and it's on the market. It's an investment opportunity, but it haven't sold. And I know from a fact that the agent knows that. Actually, the agent got a 600 offer, and the property is at 650.
Okay.
You know, and yeah, the seller is, like persistent on the price, but the agent is willing to work, to provide offers. I mean, so yeah, I believe you're 100% right. It's bringing offers to the agent so he can present them, because things might change. I mean, with the seller, I don't know.
Yep. All right. Last question. We'll start wrapping up. Who has the last question for me? Going once. Going twice. Bagu, there you go. Save the day.
So locally, I'm working with a couple of agents here, and they're really amazing agents, actually.
Oh, good.
And so, and I was thinking about bringing them here also into this workshops. Like I said, would you be willing to come to an evening so you have a better idea that I'm actually legit, and like this is, and that was their main thing for me with their objection. They're like, is this really real? I noticed they would be open. I said, would you just be open to just see other investors who are also working with realtors? So my question for you is, one of them gave me like, this is the criteria. These are some of my clients that I'm looking for finding buyers. And this was 2 days ago that she gave me the list. So I'm just trying now to be more of like a connector, because she now finally trusts me to give me like, these are the deals that I'm struggling with as an agent. So what would be your suggest my next conversations with her?
So what I do a lot whenever I go present to agents who are not familiar with creative or they're curious, what I tend to find is the best thing to do is not explain to them the nuts and bolts of how subject to works. It's to tell them stories of why other sellers and agents thought it was a good idea. I don't need to explain to them the nuts and bolts of subject to. I tell them stories. This seller was experiencing this problem, and we realized subject to was the best answer. This agent was trying to sell this house. It wasn't happening. We got together. This was the reason they decided subject to was the best position for them. This seller and this person, they were experiencing this insane circumstance. Subject to saved the day. We found right? Those stories are far more powerful. I would do that.
Thank you.
Because then here's what happens, guys. Because remember, subject to, creative, cash, all the things. You all are real estate doctors prescribing the right medicine for the diseases that these property owners are experiencing. Subject to is like heart surgery. If somebody comes in with a common cold, they don't need a heart transplant. They need some Robitussin and to go out the door, which is the MLS, and that's fine. Or if it's like a teardown, they just need a cash deal. That's fine. 80% of my deals are cash, 20% are creative or subject to, right? So when I tell stories, then the agent said, oh, Bagu isn't trying to force me to do subject to or creative on every freaking listing. It's for people who experience these problems. And then when the agent says, oh, wow, I think you are having a financial heart attack, now I know who to call. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jim, you got the last question.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that, I've got a similar situation. It might be the same response. I got an opportunity to go speak with a broker. And he's wanting to speak to me about another business opportunity, more to do with my W-2. But I'm seeing it as an opportunity to talk to him about these things. What are some, some points I could bring up to him to open him up to it? Because I do know he is opposed to it in the past. But what would be some good pointers to bring up when I get the opportunity?
Yeah, same advice I gave to Bagu. It's like, hey, look, I know when we talked before, this wasn't really up your alley. You had some concerns, rightfully so. The key is to not dismiss his concerns. Like, look, I understand where you're coming from. Totally get it. Like, I was just talking with Shad, Bagu, Jeff the other day, Graham, Brandy, all the folks.
Right.
They were telling me stories of people who were trying to sell traditionally and they couldn't do it because the interest rates were bonkers. Like, Jeff talked about one poor lady. He had it contracted cash. They found 30 grand of liens on it. And all of a sudden she was going to have to write him a check for $2,000. Like, it was nuts. But by doing subject to, he was actually able to write her a check for $5,000 and still make the deal work. Right? She didn't have that kind of money. Like, that's the deal with Pace on YouTube. Have you guys seen that? That's me and Pace talking about that deal. Like, that actually happened. Another one, like, hey, these people bought their property a year ago. There wasn't enough equity. They already were getting behind in payments. They couldn't wait. The market was telling them it was going to take 90 days in this neighborhood to get sold. They couldn't do it. There wasn't enough equity for a traditional cash offer. Jeff bought that thing sub 2 and is using it a rental now. Those folks just wanted to get the hell out of there because they were already getting behind in payments. It was getting bad. So use the stories.
Okay, thank you.
Problems, guys. We solve problems.
Jeff, that was the one that Pace bought from you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that was. That's awesome.
So guys, I'll kind of do my closing thoughts and I'll let Shad do it. I hope, guys, that brings a lot of clarity to you guys as far as handling agents. It's a business to business thing. Again, agents have one major flaw. They're humans. And it just so happens property owners have a similar flaw. They're humans. Some of them want to work with you. Some of them don't. It's okay. Now, at least you know a little bit of a different sequence to handling the agents versus going directly to seller. We talked about how you got to get into the numbers quick. What is it about the house? If I were to make an offer, what do I need to know I cannot see in the photos? If I put in an offer, what do I need to know that other buyers didn't get right so I don't do the same thing? Drop your low anchor, go. Okay. Obviously, guys, there's more to it. There's about follow-up and all the things. If you guys do need some additional help, an additional deep dive into the details, just send me a message on Instagram. I'd love to help you with that. There's a little bit of group of people that I'm helping, get better on closing. But I appreciate you guys for listening to me. Again, thank you, Shad, for hosting. I love coming to this group and hanging out. And I know Graham's always rooting for me too, so I always see him first in line. So great hanging out with you guys.
We love having you, bro. Appreciate the time and all the golden nuggets. I hope everybody here got some value because there was a lot of amazing stuff that happened. If anybody wants to watch the replay, or Jeff, if you want to point to any of your appearances here, you can catch those replays on the YouTube, the REI Conveyor Belt YouTube channel. So yeah, appreciate you coming out, brother. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, for sure. Let me drop I'll drop a couple of goodies for you guys. Do this. Shah, is it okay if I post the link to my group?
100%. Yeah. Please
Okay.
put ways people can get in contact with you.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely. Jeff has some training courses, so anybody and I've gone through it. I know several other people in our community have gone through it. Very valuable, amazing content. And then Jeff, you guys do what, like live calls and a couple times a week, right? Or
Yeah. So guys,
Yes.
I've given you 3 links. One of them is to Instagram. So if you want to reach out to me, ask me a question, I'm usually walking around my neighborhood, responding, making calls and stuff. Shoot me a DM. Love to talk to you. It has some sales tips there. My YouTube channel also has a couple of free videos for you guys. If y'all are at the point where you're like, hey, I really need to get this nailed down, I do need to learn how to talk like Jeff does and work with some guys. I do have a training course in school because people are like, Jeff, I can't just talk to you once a week or once a month. Like I need all the things. So be delighted to have you there. It's got video course content, which is not like 40 hours in length because that's crazy. It's just a few hours, get you up and running fast. It has all my call recordings. So like from the first call to the 5th call, like all of them. So you can hear how the progression goes to get a contract. That's pretty dope. I was actually pretty proud of that. And then I do 2 Zooms a week with my own students. I have a guest speaker typically on Monday. We had a guy talk dispo sales on Monday, which was awesome. And then on Wednesdays, we're usually doing call calibration, role plays. And then the group actually does role plays. Like they're doing role plays right now, actually. So lots of opportunity. Would love to have you guys there if that is appealing. Again, thank you all so much for letting me come and hang out. And I hope you found all this valuable.
Absolutely, 100%. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it, brother. Can't wait until the next time you're on here.
Yeah.
We're working on some big stuff here that I'll be unveiling here pretty soon, I hope. So, hopefully we'll have a much larger audience in the near future. So,
Oh, awesome. Well, yeah. That's cool. We'll talk about it again soon. And
once
yeah,
it develops, I'll drop the news. So,
sweet.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Everybody have a great weekend because we're not back here till next Monday. And Jeff, thank you again.
You
Appreciate
bet.
it, everybody.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Jeff.
You bet.
Bye.